Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We are kicking off a whole new chapter, and things might sound a little different around here.
Oh, is that right?
We've rebranded.
Yeah.
Childcare.Center is officially KinderPage.
That's exciting.
It is exciting. Same mission, though.
Yeah.
We're still all about making childcare easier for everyone in Canada.
Yeah.
But, just giving it a fresh new look.
I love it.
Yeah. Whether you've been here with us since day one, or you're just joining our KinderPage family, get ready, because we are about to dive into some fascinating discussions about childcare in Canada.
I'm ready.
Okay, let's do it. So today, we're going to be exploring the world of STEM and STEAM education for young children.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, we've been hearing so much about these approaches lately, and it's clear that they're shaping the future of early childhood education in Canada.
For sure, for sure.
But, I think that there's a lot of questions that come up, like why are these approaches so important?
Yeah.
Especially during those super crucial early years.
Mm-hmm.
What's the real difference between STEM and STEAM? And how do these approaches actually play out in real childcare settings?
Yeah.
And I think, maybe the most important question for all the busy parents and caregivers out there listening is, how can you support your little one's STEM or STEAM journey, without turning your home into a crazy science lab or an art studio or something?
Right.
So, one of the things that really stood out to me is this idea that a child's early years are like building the foundation of a house.
Yeah, yeah.
Everything that happens during those really early years shapes their learning way beyond preschool.
It's amazing, right?
Like those first steps when they're just like wobbling around and those never-ending why questions.
Mm-hmm.
It's all part of building those super important neural pathways in their brains, which impact how they learn, think, and interact with the world around them.
It's true.
I remember reading somewhere that early math skills are a surprisingly strong predictor of future success.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not just in math, but like in reading.
Right.
And their overall academic achievement. It's fascinating to me. Can you maybe unpack that a little bit? Like, why is math such a powerful indicator?
Yeah, absolutely. So when kids are developing those early math skills, they're actually grasping concepts like patterns, quantities, spatial relationships, and that builds a foundation for logical thinking and problem solving.
Oh, okay.
And that is essential for all sorts of learning, including literacy.
So it's not just about forcing kids to be these little mathematicians. It's about giving them the tools they need to become really well-rounded learners.
Exactly.
So it sounds like STEM and STEAM approaches go way beyond just, focusing on science, technology, engineering, art, and math.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It seems like they really help cultivate those critical thinking skills,
Yeah.
problem-solving skills, even social-emotional skills.
It really is about equipping them with that ultimate learner's toolkit. Like you said, going way beyond those subjects. It's how to approach life.
Okay, so we keep hearing these terms, STEM and STEAM. Can we break those down a little bit?
Yeah.
What's the difference? Are they battling it out in the education world?
Sometimes it feels like that, like it's a big debate.
Right.
But really, they're more like two sides of the same coin.
Uh-huh.
They each enrich the other. So STEM, as you know, stands for science, technology, engineering, and math. And it just lays a really strong foundation in these important fields. STEAM takes those core areas and integrates the arts.
So can you give me an example of what a typical activity might look like with just a STEM approach versus one that embraces STEAM?
Okay, so let's say a group of children is learning about the weather.
Okay.
A STEM approach might involve things like measuring rainfall, tracking temperatures, learning about different weather instruments.
Yeah, that sounds pretty hands-on and engaging already. How would STEAM, kind of enhance that experience?
With STEAM, they could do all that stuff, but they could also create weather-themed artwork, write poems about storms, compose songs about the changing seasons, even design and build their own weather stations.
So it's like by weaving in the arts, we're not just making learning more fun, but we're actually deepening their understanding and letting them express their scientific knowledge in creative ways.
Absolutely. Integrating the arts into STEM helps children make connections across different areas of learning. They develop a more holistic understanding of the world around them. It's like taking a black and white picture and adding all these vibrant colors.
I love that. And the good news is you don't have to choose between the two.
Right.
The really great programs blend both approaches.
Yeah.
So what does that look like in a really good quality childcare setting? This kind of beautiful blend of STEM and STEAM.
So imagine a really dynamic learning environment
Okay.
where kids are constantly exploring, experimenting, and creating.
Mm-hmm.
There's a good balance between structured activities where they're learning specific concepts and then applying those concepts in their own unique ways.
Yeah.
And then there's free exploration time, or they can just let their imaginations run wild.
It sounds like the perfect recipe for nurturing those curious young minds.
It is.
So you'd see kids collaborating on building projects, maybe coming up with their own experiments with just everyday materials, maybe even using technology to bring their creative visions to life.
Exactly.
Okay, but let's be real for a second here. We've talked about all these amazing benefits of STEM and STEAM, but high-quality childcare, especially these more specialized programs, they often come with, a pretty hefty price tag.
You're absolutely right. It's no secret that the cost of traditional childcare can be really difficult for families. And then when you add in specialized programs on top of that, it can just feel overwhelming. It's a real concern, for so many families.
Yeah.
But accessing quality STEM and STEAM learning doesn't have to mean enrolling in those pricey programs.
Okay, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
I think sometimes, as a parent, you can feel this pressure to provide all these elaborate experiences for your kids, thinking that's the only way to help them with this stuff.
Right.
So what are some other ways that families can approach this, without spending a ton of money?
Well, one thing they can do is tap into the amazing resources available in their own communities.
Yeah.
Think about places like libraries and community centers. They offer free or low-cost workshops and activities that incorporate these concepts in really fun ways.
Yeah. I remember when I was a kid, I used to spend hours at the library. I loved those books about space and dinosaurs.
Yeah.
And actually, our community center had a robotics club, which is probably why I'm such a builder and tinkerer now.
Ooh, I love that.
Those were such great experiences, and they were completely free.
And that just highlights how impactful community resources can be. It's not about having the fanciest gadgets or the most expensive programs. It's about creating those opportunities for kids to explore and discover and learn in a hands-on way. And communities are full of those opportunities.
Totally. And what about things like government support programs? I know those can be a bit of a maze to navigate, but is there anything out there?
Absolutely. There are provincial subsidies and other programs to help families. And then you also have amazing initiatives like Indigenous early learning programs.
Oh, cool.
Many of which weave traditional knowledge together with STEM concepts, so it's a really unique and culturally rich learning experience.
That's fantastic. I also wanted to touch on those alternative learning paths, like after-school programs or weekend workshops.
Yeah.
I feel like those have really become popular.
Yeah, they offer a ton of flexibility. And they can be a great way to introduce kids to specific areas of STEM and STEAM that might not be covered in their regular childcare setting. So think robotics clubs, coding workshops, nature exploration groups, even art and engineering classes. There's just a wide variety to choose from, and many of them fit different budgets and schedules.
That's awesome. It really shows that there are so many ways to make STEM and STEAM learning a part of a child's life, even if it's not, in a full-time specialized program. And as much as we love those formal learning settings, I feel like we can't forget about those learning moments at home, too.
Right. Learning doesn't have to just be in a classroom. Some of the most powerful learning experiences actually happen spontaneously in everyday life. Parents and caregivers are in the perfect position to foster that love of learning in their children.
So let's get practical here. What are some things that parents and caregivers can do at home to support their child's STEM and STEAM development? Like, what are some simple, everyday activities that can make a real difference?
Well, one of the easiest and most accessible ways is through digital resources.
Okay.
There is a whole universe of educational content online, think interactive science websites, educational apps, virtual museum tours, even provincial early learning resources.
Yeah.
These can be great ways to spark your child's curiosity and keep them engaged.
Those digital resources are amazing, especially, when it's raining or something and you don't really want to go outside. But let's not forget about the power of hands-on learning, too.
Yeah, exactly. Turning everyday moments into learning opportunities is key.
Okay, love that.
So, cooking together can become a lesson in measurements, fractions, chemical reactions.
Oh, wow.
Building a fort, that's an engineering challenge. A nature walk can spark a fascination with biology and ecology.
I love that.
It's about opening your eyes to the learning potential that exists in everyday moments and encourage your kids to ask questions and experiment and make those connections between what they're learning and the world around them.
It really is. It's like embracing those teachable moments. You don't have to be, a scientist or an artist yourself to foster these skills in your kids.
Exactly.
So, we've talked about the incredible benefits of STEM and STEAM And we've explored a bunch of different ways that families can incorporate these approaches,
Yeah.
both inside and outside the traditional classroom. But I think we have to acknowledge that there are a lot of myths and misconceptions surrounding STEM and STEAM.
Oh, for sure.
It can be hard for parents to know what to believe.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much information and misinformation out there that it can get really confusing.
Exactly. So let's debunk some of those common myths, maybe set the record straight a little bit.
Okay.
What are some of the misconceptions that you've encountered, and how can we kind of clear the air?
Okay, so one of the biggest myths is that STEM and STEAM are only for certain types of kids. The ones who are already really good at science and math or have that artistic flair.
Right.
But that's just not true. These approaches are beneficial for all children, regardless of their interests or talents.
I've totally heard that one too. It's like people think STEM and STEAM are these exclusive clubs,
Right, exactly.
only for the kids who are already excelling in those areas. But it's really about nurturing those skills in every child.
Exactly. Every child is born curious, every child has the potential to be a problem solver, and every child can benefit from these approaches. It's about fostering that growth mindset, helping them realize they can achieve anything they set their minds to.
That makes so much sense.
Mhm.
I think another common myth is that STEM and STEAM are all about, pushing kids to become scientists or engineers or artists. Like it's some kind of predetermined career path. I remember feeling that pressure when I was a kid, like I had to fit into that mold.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's a really valid point. And, it's important to remember that while STEM and STEAM can certainly open doors to those careers, they're not about forcing kids into a box or dictating their future.
Right.
It's about equipping them with essential skills and a mindset that will help them succeed in whatever they choose to pursue, whether that's being a doctor or a teacher, an entrepreneur, anything they can dream of.
That's so reassuring. It's about empowering them to be adaptable and innovative thinkers, regardless of where their path takes them.
Exactly.
And speaking of paths, another misconception I've heard is that STEM and STEAM learning has to be super structured and rigid, like it's all about memorizing facts and formulas.
Ah, yeah, the drill and kill approach. We want to move away from that. While there's certainly a place for structured learning, to build that foundation, STEM and STEAM are really about hands-on exploration.
Okay, yeah.
It's about letting children experiment, make mistakes, learn from those experiences, and just really embrace that sense of wonder and discovery, that comes
Yeah.
with figuring things out for themselves.
So it's not about filling their heads with information. It's about giving them the space to be curious and ask questions and explore the world in their own way. And that's where the magic really happens,
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
It's about fostering that lifelong love of learning, that intrinsic motivation to explore, discover, and create. And when kids are genuinely engaged and enjoying the process, they're so much more likely to remember what they're learning and apply it in meaningful ways.
It makes you wonder why we ever moved away from that approach in the first place. I think sometimes, especially, in this world of modern parenting, there's pressure to buy all those gadgets and gizmos and create those magical STEM and STEAM learning experiences for our kids. But in reality, it can be a lot simpler than that.
You're absolutely right. We get so caught up in feeling like we have to provide these elaborate experiences. But STEM and STEAM are all around us, woven into the fabric of everyday life. We don't need fancy equipment or expensive programs.
It really can be.
Yeah.
As we're talking about all this, it's striking me that early childhood education itself is going through a pretty big transformation.
Oh, it really is. We're seeing a real evolution in how we approach early learning and care.
Mm-hmm.
There's this growing awareness that the early years are so much more than just, getting ready for kindergarten.
Right.
They're a time for incredible brain development, a time to nurture a love of learning that will last a lifetime, and a time to really, set the stage for future success.
It's like we're finally recognizing how powerful those early years really are.
Yeah.
It's so exciting. What are some of the trends you're seeing in early childhood education that are really promising or innovative?
Well, one trend I find really encouraging is the emphasis on outdoor learning. There's this recognition that nature is a fantastic classroom,
Yeah.
full of opportunities for exploration and discovery and, all those sensory experiences that little kids love.
Yeah.
So we're seeing more early childhood programs incorporating outdoor play and nature-based activities,
Mm-hmm.
and the benefits are just undeniable.
I love that. I have such great memories of playing in the woods behind my house when I was a kid,
Mhm.
building forts, collecting leaves, and just letting my imagination run wild.
Yeah,
Those experiences were so important for me, and it's wonderful that more kids are getting to connect with nature and learn through direct experience.
absolutely. And it's not just about the memories. Research has shown that spending time outdoors has so many benefits for kids. It reduces stress, improves focus, boosts creativity, and fosters a sense of wonder.
It really is a win-win.
Mhm.
Another trend I'm excited about is the use of technology in early learning.
Yeah,
Of course, being mindful of screen time is important,
right.
making sure technology is used intentionally and purposefully. But there are so many incredible tools and resources now that can really make learning come alive for kids.
Oh, absolutely. When technology is used effectively, it can open up a whole new world of learning for young children. Think about interactive apps that teach math concepts through games, virtual field trips that take kids to places they might not otherwise be able to go,
Wow, yeah.
and digital storytelling tools that let them create and share their own stories. It's amazing.
It's like giving them the keys to this whole universe of knowledge and creativity.
Right.
And it's not just about the tools themselves, it's about how those tools are being used.
Right.
And the way we approach teaching is evolving along with technology.
Mhm.
So we're seeing this move toward personalized learning, where teachers are really paying attention to each child's unique needs and interests.
Yeah, it's so important to recognize that there's no one-size-fits-all approach to learning. Every child is on their own journey, and it's the educator's job to meet them where they are, to understand their strengths and challenges, and create learning experiences that really work for them.
I love that. It's like we're moving away from this idea of trying to make every child fit the same mold,
Yeah,
and instead we're embracing all the wonderful differences in learning styles.
exactly. And this personalized approach really shows how important observation and assessment are in early childhood education.
Mhm.
Educators need to be constantly observing and interacting with kids, learning about their progress and what they're interested in. That way, they can adapt and make sure every child is thriving.
It's such a dynamic and responsive approach to education.
It really is. And that's what's so exciting about early childhood education right now. There's this amazing sense of innovation, a willingness to try new things and challenge old ways of thinking, to create learning environments that nurture the whole child.
It feels like we're on the edge of something really transformative, like a big change in how we think about early learning and care. And that's such a hopeful and inspiring message, I think.
I agree. There are definitely challenges,
Mhm.
but there's so much to be optimistic about. The future of early childhood education is bright. I can't wait to see what amazing things happen in the years to come.
I know, me too. Well, I think it's time for us to wrap up this deep dive. We've covered a lot today, from the power of STEM and STEAM to the evolving landscape of early childhood education. I hope our listeners are leaving with a sense of wonder and inspiration, and maybe even a few ideas to try at home or in their childcare settings.
It's been great exploring this topic with you. Thanks to everyone for listening.
Before we sign off, I want to encourage everyone to keep the conversation going online. Visit KinderPage to find great childcare providers near you, get more resources on STEM and STEAM learning, and tell us what you think.
And remember, this is just the beginning of a new chapter for KinderPage. We're so excited to be on this journey with all of you, exploring the world of early childhood education and working together to make quality childcare more accessible and enriching for everyone.
Until next time, keep those curious minds growing and keep playing.
Happy learning, everyone!